My favourite book when I was a child was a piece of non-fiction about the pioneers of aviation. It had lots of pictures in it of balloons and aeroplanes and helicopters and rockets, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was probably called something like The Illustrated History of Flight, because that's what it was. And the first picture in the book was this one, which illustrated the first story in the book, which was about Icarus and his father Daedalus, who were the first men to fly. Icarus was imprisoned with his father on the island of Crete. Daedalus was a very clever man, and he came up with a cunning plan for their escape. They gathered up all the feathers they could find and stuck them together with wax and made some great big wings that they could strap to their arms so that they could fly like the birds, or more significantly like the gods, and escape the island and head for safety in Sicily. Before they made their flight, Daedalus gave Icarus some important instruction and advice and guidance. He said, we need to maintain a steady flight path. If you go too low and get too close to the water, your feathers are going to get damp and heavy and you won't have the strength to flap your wings. If you go too high and you get too close to the sun, the wax is going to melt, your feathers are going to fall off. So he said, stick with me, I'm going to maintain a level altitude, we'll be okay. Just follow me. So they head over the wall and start flying across the sea. Icarus was young and exuberant, and when he found himself flying in the sky, he was pretty excited about the whole thing. As their journey progressed, he became more confident in his flying skills, and he started thinking about finding out what he could do with his wings. He started to disregard the advice his father had given him, and he tried out a few little aerobatic manoeuvres, and at some point he flew way up into the sky and got too close to the sun. The wax melted, the feathers fell out, his wings fell to bits, he plummeted into the ocean and drowned. Daedalus, of course, was very upset, but managed to finish his journey and reach dry land in Sicily, but he was absolutely devastated at the loss of his son. He hung up his wings and never flew again, as you could understand. Like Daedalus, my parents encouraged me to follow a steady, even path. They didn't give me wings though, instead they tried to keep me grounded. They tried to point me down a pathway that would lead to stability and security. The basic tenets of my upbringing were that you shouldn't aspire to things that you can't achieve. You shouldn't desire things that are unobtainable. You should know your limits and not try to go beyond them. You shouldn't dream things that can't come true. Don't have ideas above your station in life. I took all that on board and emerged from high school having no aspirations, no ambition, no goals. In fact, what I've discovered since then is that I can't set goals. It's impossible for me. I never learned how to do it. So I've just drifted through life. Which sounds a bit sad, but actually I've had a very happy, comfortable life. The thing is, if your dreams and wishes and hopes are very modest, then those things are very easily satisfied. I've learned to want very little from the world, and when I get very little, I'm okay with that. My parents taught me how to be poor. That's actually worked quite well for me. The story of Icarus is a very, very short one, but there are many, many facets to it. Depending on which way you're looking at it, you can learn many different lessons from it. An obvious one would be about the risks of setting your sights too high. But it's also about following your passions, pushing your limits, things like that. There's a lot in there about parenting. The thing that sticks in my mind is that Daedalus encouraged Icarus to be cautious, to play it safe, to not take any risks. But at the same time, Daedalus is the guy who built the wings and tied them to Icarus's arms and told him to go out there and fly. Perhaps there would have been a different result if Daedalus had made a parachute for Icarus as well.